Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Morning Manna. And this week, we're just kind of walking through the Bible reading plan. If you've been reading along with us at Manna Church, you know we're reading through the New Testament and Psalms and Proverbs this year. And so I love the idea of getting up in the morning, having this little devotional time together, and then diving into the scripture. And so today, part of our reading is in Acts chapter 27. This is such an interesting passage, and I hope you're going to enjoy this concept. I have spent far too long, if I'm all the way honest, studying through Acts 27 and looking at my little map that shows the journey that Paul took to Rome on these various ships as he's headed to testify before the emperor because he's appealed to Caesar. And so we see that he sets out in one vessel and they sail along. That's in the beginning in verse 6. I think this is so interesting, and we'll see why later. A centurion, the centurion found an Alexandrian ship sailing for Italy and put us on board. That's the grain fleet. So if you know anything about Roman history, they've got all these fertile plains down in Egypt where they're growing all of this grain, and then that grain travels along the Roman Empire to end up in Rome, where that's where the people are eating. That's where they're getting their bread. And so they're on the grain fleet, on a portion of the grain fleet as they're headed toward Rome. But there's this point where, because of a number of factors, it's just going to be dangerous. So Paul says, in verse 10, "Men, I can see that our voyage is going to be disastrous and bring great loss to ship and cargo and to our lives also." They ignore him and they continue on the journey, and it gets worse and worse until they get to the point where they think everything is going to be lost. And so later in verse 21 of Acts 27, after they'd gone a long time without food, Paul stood up before them and said, "Men, you should have taken my advice not to sail from Crete. Then you would have spared yourself this damage and loss. But now I urge you to keep your courage, because not one of you will be lost, only the ship will be destroyed." Here's what's interesting to me. Paul, with wisdom and prudence earlier, looks forward and says, if we continue on this journey, we're going to die and we're going to lose the ship and everything else. But now, at that critical moment where wisdom, prudence, even looking forward, taking stock, the situation around, everything that Paul has experienced, everything that he understands, he goes, yep, we're going to die. But in this moment, God has shown up. He says, an angel of the Lord, verse 23, last night an angel of God, to whom I belong and to whom I have served, stood beside me and said, "Do not be afraid, Paul. You must stand trial before Caesar, and God has graciously given you the lives of all who sail with you." See, here's the deal. God is a God of mercy. The people around Paul made a horrible decision. They tried to keep going. He warned them, and he was right. But regardless of what's gone on, God can make a new way. God is a God of mercy. So even though this looks like it's not going to make it, he can still come to the rescue. And it's one of those things we see play out in Acts 27. So as you read the word today, I want you to invite God to speak to your heart. Maybe as you study through and put all this stuff together, and why was it a grain ship? I think as we go deeper into Acts over the next couple days, we'll see something important there. But remember, God is a God of mercy. We can hold on to that today. If you need his mercy, reach out for him. Trust him. God bless you, Manna Church.